Welcome everybody to the NSA Carolinas Membership Spotlight. I am excited to be here today. We are a chapter that covers both North Carolina and South Carolina, and the National Speakers Association is located in Tempe, Arizona. We are one of 40 chapters located throughout the United States, and our members represent speaking professions with a wide range of topics and expertise. And I have an amazing expert here today. His name is Wally. Say hello to everybody, Wally.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, we're so delighted to have you here today. Let me tell you a little bit about Wally. Wally was an officer in the Marines, and he was deployed throughout the world, and he participated in training, peacekeeping, and combat operations. In his years in the Corps, honed his motivational and training skills. His influence remains in a legacy of Marines who provide inspired leadership for this country and for their organizations, and he's having an impact all over the country. He is the kind of guy that's always seeking a new challenge. And so Wally entered into the hyper-competitive private sector to apply his leadership philosophy in the pursuit of organizational excellence in business. And the next step was simply to move into consulting and speaking. As a senior consultant with FMI, Management Consultants to the Construction Industry, his clients recognized his solutions as 3 Ps: practical, profitable, and powerful. And so he founded, it was a natural next step to found Firestarter Speaking and Consulting in response to the demands of organizations for relative and effective leadership development. And Wally is also the chair of the $1 Million Speakers Group. Did I get that right, Wally?
You did. It's a community group within NSA, and it's my turn right
Okay, that's fantastic. So you know he's good at his job. He's in this fancy group. All right. So Wally, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come visit with me about being a member of the NSA Carolinas. So tell me a little bit, how did you find NSA? How did you get into the NSA Carolinas chapter? How did all that start?
now. When I first got out of the Marine Corps, I worked for Arby's Restaurants. I was a regional manager, running a bunch of restaurants, kind of a leadership job with business and stuff like that. And at one of our annual meetings, there was a gentleman who came to keynote, right? And he was a former Air Force pilot who had gotten into speaking and very successful career, of course. And my company assigned me to be his escort, I guess you would call it, because I had been a pilot in the military as well. So I'm his escort. I'm, getting to know him a little bit and understanding, getting to understand what he was saying. And we started talking about the speaking thing. And he says, well, the organization that I'm a member is the National Speakers Association, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my introduction. And that just kind of, resided there for a while. Then when I eventually got into speaking and consulting, I had a trip out to the West Coast where he lived. And I said, hey, I'm going to be in the area. And like most everybody in this outstanding association, he was gracious. He opened his house to me. I was just like, maybe we can get coffee. No, we're going to have a big dinner. He's showing me.
Fantastic.
He's showing me his systems and his library. And the quote was, if you're going to be a professional speaker, you need to be a member of the National Speakers Association. So when that time came, I joined.
That is a fantastic story. So you're absolutely right. When you join NSA, they just kind of take you under their wing and treat you like, 5 stars, right? So that is great. So what do you think the biggest value you receive from being an NSA member? Because, you're the member at the national level, but then also at the chapter level. So talk about that too, if you would.
I guess it varies depending where you are in your journey. Early on, it's content, right? It's material to help you get better at whatever you want. So maybe it's speaking from the platform. Maybe it's how to tell a story. I remember when I got to the point, a couple of years in, when I was writing my first book, everything that I attended at the local I went, we'll get to that, but everything I attended at the national level one year at the convention was about publishing, right?
Right.
And then it became social media, right? So early on, it's all about the content. It's still about the content, but now it's more about what I'll call the support group, right? People who are going through similar things, but also just people who understand and people who you've become friends with, really. I mean, I've been a member of the association, I think, for 18 years. And
Wow.
I go to convention and I see my friends, right? And as solitary as this business can be, that becomes very important. So at the national level, again, depending on where you are in the journey, you get different things. At the local level, you get that local connection to on a more regular basis, right? In the national, we go maybe once a year to convention. At the local level, it's seeing you once a quarter, ideally, or whatever the meeting cadence is going to be, and kind of that booster shot on a more regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit. You said you wrote a book. If people wanted to see your book or read your book, where would they find it?
Probably at the bargain basement, free library or something like that.
No, that's not true.
My first book was called No Yelling: The 9 Secrets of Marine Corps Leadership You Must Know to Win in Business. It was hardcover. It was kind of that
Nice.
big splash kind of a thing, PR, publicity, etc. I did okay. That's still out there. And then my second book was called Construction Leadership from A to Z. I speak pretty much exclusively to the construction industry. And that was in 2008, 2009. I can't remember exactly, but after the last economic downturn. And it was really put out there to defend the niche. And they've both done well and they both sell, but two very different books for very different reasons, I think, are important to know.
Yeah, yeah. So we could probably find them on Amazon, right?
Oh yeah. You can.
Okay, very
If you
good.
buy it, that'll pay for a sleeve of golf balls for me or something.
Well, tell me this. Tell me how you went from Arby's to speaking to construction. Like what happened right there that got you there? Because I think I've heard you speak live at the NSA meeting, and then you just did a webinar this past year. So I've seen you twice actually, and your story is so fantastic about how you kind of evolutionized. So share that with us.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go back, in my youth, my brother and dad worked in construction, right? So
Oh,
uh,
okay.
when I was 13 years old, I was working on job sites in New York City as a helper, that kind of thing. Fast forward to getting my MBA from Carolina, North Carolina, the blue ones. And then, that opened some doors for me. And consulting was one of those doors. And as you mentioned in the introduction, I went to work for a company called FMI, which is it's a boutique. It's a big boutique, but they specialize in the construction industry. So they got me back into construction. My whole Marine Corps experience fits very well with the ethos and mentality of that industry. So, but with that said, having been a manager at Arby's, a regional manager, and having profit and loss responsibility and experience, right? The MBA gives me kind of the academic experience. So it all, when you look back on it, makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you may not know this, but my first job was at the Applebee's. So you and I have a lot in common. I was the regional gal too, so I totally get that. I think everybody should have to work in the restaurant business at some point, don't you? I think it's very good training.
Something said for hospitality, there really is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we have gotten a lot of new members in the NSA Carolinas, which is really cool. During COVID, a lot of people are experiencing atrophy in their membership numbers, and in our case, we have more members than ever because people are really, I think, pursuing kind of like their dream job. Of becoming a speaker. And you and I know that it is fantastic when you're on stage and you're presenting. That's the dream. But like, tell us about the whole bunch of work in between stage to stage. Like, what advice would you give to new members?
Yeah, I remember an interview, I think it was Morgan Freeman, and he goes, "It took me 20 years to become an overnight success," right? And LeBron James still goes and shoots free throws, right? So, um, and yes, the economy now with people either having that opportunity to pursue their dream job. The thing about dreams is they're closely related to nightmares, and so it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful way to make a living. But there's work to be done, and like any entrepreneurial endeavor, And if anybody's ever read the E-Myth, then the I love making cookies, and then once I get in the business of making cookies, I don't like making cookies anymore, right?
That's
Or
right.
I'm not good at accounting and QuickBooks and all those things. So the one of the by the way, just about anything I say to you, I heard at NSA. So here's another one. You don't
Okay.
pay you don't pay me to speak. You pay me to get on an airplane and do all that other stuff, right? The speaking is the fun part.
Right.
It's where the connection comes, and we get our souls fed. So it's a lot of work, and from selling and marketing, I remember first event I ever went to. I'm in the elevator. Senior guy, older guy, Joe Benora was his name, and I have the name tag on. And at NSA, we give you the VIP ribbon, right? Which means you're the new guy. And he goes, so hey, how's it going? What brings you here? And I said, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm just here to see if I can do it. And he said, oh, if you're here, you can do it. The question is, can you sell it? And that is a skill that not everyone has and not everyone wants. I've got 5 wonderful subcontractors who work for me. They've got their own businesses, but they're not quite as big as mine. And at the end of the day, it comes down to they'd rather have me sell them into something than them sell them into something. So sales and marketing is absolutely part of it, budgeting, et cetera, professional development, all of these things. And it never ends, right? So, this studio that I'm coming to you from, right now that didn't exist, 6 months ago,
Right. Pre-COVID, you didn't do this stuff, right?
didn't need it, didn't want it. Now I got 5 sets of lights, big screen, computer, 3 different cameras. And I say that to say that the learning never ends, and the business continues to evolve.
Yeah, I think that we have just catapulted, 5 years into the future as far as technology and speaking. I think it's absolutely wonderful what's come out of this very terrible thing called COVID. So I'm with you. I'm working on getting my setup together too. I've got other fellow NSA people who are doing it for free, helping me for free. So that's another testimony to the great community that we're in. Well, tell us a little bit about fire starter speaking and consulting. I know, like when people go to NSA, the first question out of their mouth is, "What do you speak on?" So tell us what you speak on and what the answer to that should be, and all about your company and how you created this thing.
That's a great question that I hate. Here it is. We're at a meeting, and somebody says, "What do you speak on?" And I speak on leadership, simply. And then the next question is, oh, well, who do you speak to? Now, if we're on an airplane, I'll give you the whole thing. I'm going to say I speak and consult on leadership in the non-residential construction industry. And again, where does that come from? Well, it comes from my upbringing, right? That's where I grew up. These are the people who I'm very comfortable with and who I relate to very well. The next question I'll often get from NSA people is, and what qualifies you to speak on leadership? And I say, well, and I think, well, what qualifies you to ask that question? But I'll play along. And I was an officer of the Marines in the Marines for 10 years. Ends the conversation. And then, we'll get into the niche and talk about construction. And again, people are like, "Ooh, you teach construction to those leadership to those people?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're in the Gaylord wherever, and it's $1 billion facility. Who do you think built this thing, right?" So they're my people, right? It's an underserved market. It's a cheap market for anybody thinking about getting into it. They're cheap, but it's been okay. And I think that answered your question. So, it's who I am. I love these folks. I love sharing ideas with them in an unpretentious way and just helping them get better at what they do.
Yeah. Well, if people want to hear your story and hear more from you, where do we go to find out about you? How do we contact Wally?
Well, you can go to the website, constructionleadership.com. That's pretty simple. My email is there. It's wally@beafirestarter.com. And if somebody has gone out of their way to watch this video, then I'd be happy to have a conversation. We get on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes, but this goes back to a conversation, the beginning of this conversation, Nicole, is about the value of the chapters, right? And
Right.
people come up to me all the time. They come up to you all the time and say, I want to, whatever. And the offer I just made to everybody here is the offer I make it. Send me an email. We'll get on the phone, right? We'll talk for 10 to 15 minutes. If you're in the military, I'll give you more. And then I say, the next thing you need to do is find your local chapter and go to a meeting. And once you do that, call me back. Now, you already know the answer to this. What percent of people actually do that?
Very low percentage. I don't know what the number is, but it's very
Everybody,
low. But the
right?
offer is there, which is crazy good. So call Wally.
Yeah. So here's the thought process. If you won't invest in yourself, why would I? Right. And here's what
Exactly.
people say. Oh, the meeting is far. It's on a bad day. Then you're not committed. I live in Raleigh. Our meetings traditionally are in Charlotte. It's 3 hours away. When we, years back, we would meet on Friday night and Saturday because we're coming together once a quarter, right? My kids were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? But I was making the commitment to go to every local meeting that I could. That I missed birthdays, I missed grandparents' days, I did all those things because I was committed to building my business. One of my mentors, Bill Brooks, who was a member of the association, unfortunately passed away, said, the reason I like you is you're coachable. You'll do the things we suggest you do.
So I've got a few takeaways from this call. One is pull out the E-Myth and read that. It's a book by Michael Gerber. And, the people that followed him in the 90s or whatever, they called him the Gerber babies. But I'm telling you, everybody needs to be a Gerber baby if they want to be in the speaking biz. So that's a great takeaway from Wally. Number 2, he said, join and then show up. That's what he said. He said, join and show up. And number 3, you need to be totally, totally committed. And so today, having you do this spotlight with me, it shows more of your continual love and care for this industry and your fellow speaker. Wally, any final parting genius you want to give us about being a member of NSA at the national level or at the local level? We'd love to hear it.
When I look at people in the association and they aren't, and they've been, it's too hard, it's too much paperwork. And I say, if you are going to call yourself a professional speaker, why would you not do what it takes to attain the certified speaking professional designation? If I back up and I'll give you the same words that Danny Cox gave, if you aspire to be a professional speaker, to use the spoken word as a consultant, facilitator, trainer, that umbrella of professional speaking, why would you not join the National Speakers Association, right? It's not a perfect organization, but it is the place to go to accelerate your learning to a place, to get to a place where you have a wonderful lifestyle or a mega business. And again, staying engaged, the local level. You heard I'm the chair of the $1 Million Speakers Group. There are groups for XY members. There's a group for Black NSA. There are these community groups. So there's other ways for people to connect. And again, at the chapter level, so much of this stuff is virtual these days, right? So there's no reason to not be involved. But when you dive in and you commit and you start asking questions and you keep showing up, the rewards do come. And it's simple. Get involved, join and get involved, as you said.
Okay, that's fantastic. So Wally is a certified speaking professional and has been for how many years have you been certified?
It takes 5 years. You have to be a member of the, so probably 2000, I came in 2003, 2008, I don't know, 12, 13 years.
Yeah. And when you get to that level, you also are able to go to different groups within the NSA national level. Have you been to the
CSP CPAE Summit?
Yeah.
It is one of the best values that I have experienced. So you think about it, we've got local chapter meetings where anybody can go. We've got national meetings where anybody can go. And then they have these carve outs of 2-3 days of programming, you pay to go, et cetera. But there are no pretenders in the room, right? These are all people who have achieved the CSP designation, and the discourse and the dialogue and the exchange is at a higher level. Similarly, in my community group with the $1 million speakers, these are folks who are making, grossing over $1 million. But the exchange, this is going to be a strong statement. The chair previous to me back in April just started a call Thursday afternoons at 1:00 Eastern time for all the members, whoever wants to go. Sometimes there's 5, sometimes there's 25. There's about 120 people in the group. And we have maintained that cadence, since April. And again, seems like a strong statement. This is the highest value I've gotten out of NSA in 18 years, right? Is that regular connection. Sometimes it's just support, but hey, what are you doing with social media? Hey, what are you doing with this? Hey, what are you doing with that? Right. And like, what do they call it? Like micro learning, on-demand learning, right? That are people getting what they need when they need it. A little bit, more targeted than that CSP summit, but it's a logical progression. And again, you got to get engaged and get involved to get the benefits.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Well, I am so grateful for you taking time out of your very busy schedule to come and speak with me. I am grateful, and I know that everybody watching this has learned a lot. And I'd like to say to all of you that are viewing this, whether you're a veteran speaker or just beginning your speaking career, the NSA Carolinas can help you take your speaking business to the next level, which is what Wally just was talking about. And I personally would love to answer your questions, and don't miss this. You've got a free pass to give Wally a call. All you got to do is go look him up, and Google him. He shows right up at the top, and he will take your phone call and he will help you get started, especially if you are a Marine. Hoorah. So don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Wally, and I can be reached at Nicole@vibrantcoaching.com, or you can reach out to Wally. Will you tell him your URL for your website?
Just go to constructionleadership.com.
Okay, awesome. I treasure this time being with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon, speakers.